Let's be real, business is hard. If you're an entrepreneur, you know that it involves 12-hour days and grinding away to make your vision a reality. But here's the thing, it doesn't have to be that way. For me, being an entrepreneur of over 20 plus years, I have learned how to scale my business properly with systems, virtual assistants, AI, and other tools in order to create leverage and freedom in my business and in my life. On this video, I'm going to share the top 5 lessons that I've learned in my business so that you can adapt these to what you're doing right away, earn more money, work less, and have way more fun. Let's go.
Hey, real quick, if we're just meeting, I'm Danny. Thanks for tuning into the channel. So look, whether you have a team already or you don't and you need to hire your first virtual assistant, I want to invite you to book a call down below with my team at All Star VAs. We'll do a full business audit. We'll see what's working for you, what's not working for you, and we'll give you a game plan and a roadmap so that you can scale your business effectively and efficiently so that you can make more money and work less. Book that call. I'll see you on there. And for now, back to the video.
Lesson number 1, stop letting your business take over your entire life. So, as entrepreneurs, which I am one, it's so easy to allow your business to just completely take over everything that you do, nights, weekends, and everything else. So people make fun of me, but I have some really interesting rules at my house that I've had for quite some time for my family and my kids, and they have served us really, really well. Let me tell you some of these. So number 1 is that we do not allow technology at the table. That's right. So no phones, no iPads. We come together to eat dinner as a family, lunch, whatever that is, even if it's snacks. We really don't allow phones in that area. And, call me old fashioned. Maybe it's because, I came here from the former Soviet Union when I was 3 and, family values are super important. But, I think getting rid of the phones as much as you can in the house when you're hanging out with your family, when you're watching TV with your spouse or your partner or whatever is so critical, because otherwise it's so easy to let that overtake everything that you do. Another rule that we have in the house is we don't have a TV in our bedroom. We haven't had that in a really long time. I always tell people, actually, we haven't had that ever. And I always tell people that, there's only a few things you should be doing in the bedroom. Watching TV ain't one of them. And so we don't have a TV in the bedroom. We go in the bedroom to be husband and wife and hang out and all that good stuff. And, we're not there to watch TV. So that's another one, that we do. And then on the weekends, really, I do try to limit my phone use. So I have a cutoff time every night where I'm usually turning my phone off. And, too much to my wife's chagrin, I make her do the same thing. Kids, same thing. We wanted to turn off those phones, have some time before bed where they're not having screen time and stuff like that. So I think it's super important as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, to set boundaries for yourself. So whatever those boundaries are for you, maybe it's a certain time that you turn the phone off at night, a certain time in the morning. Also, one other thing I should have mentioned, don't look at your phone first thing when you wake up in the morning. That is such a bad habit and such a bad thing to do because, it just gets your brain totally off track. You're not focused on the important stuff. And then you get into reactive mode, which is really not where you want to be. So set up your own rules, set up your own cadence, but make sure that you are not allowing your business to really overtake your entire life. And now I know you might be thinking or saying, Danny, if I don't answer the phone, I'm going to lose clients. I have to always be available. Well, I got to tell you that that is not true. What I want you to remember is that your clients or your business, people there want a result. They don't necessarily want you. They don't necessarily need you at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, listen, unless you're a heart surgeon and you're on call, different story. But if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, you could set it up so that you don't have to do that. And that actually leads me right into lesson number 2, which is focus on money-making activities. So for so long in my business, and I coached real estate agents before, and I still do, when we coach our clients here at All Star VAs. But one of the things that I see so many people doing is wasting time on non-income producing activities. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to take a look at your business, grab a piece of paper or grab your phone or whatever. After you watch the video, grab a piece of paper now while you're watching it. And I want you to write down, I want you to make 2 columns. And on the left side, I want you to write down all the money-making activities that you do in your business. So these are things that directly generate revenue for your business. These are things like meeting with clients, making prospecting or lead generation calls. Maybe that's training an employee that's going to do those things for you, right? Interviewing new staff, meetings with prospective clients, things like that. Anything that is money making. And on the right side, I want you to write down all the non-money making stuff. Now, the non-money making stuff is what I kindly call all the bullshit that we do to make it sound like we're busy. All right. These are all the things that entrepreneurs like to do: your website and your email and answering your phone and, creating calendar invitations and social media posts and all of these kinds of things. Now, social media you might think is money making, and it is, and it can be, but it can also be delegated really easily. So take a look at this list and ask yourself and look at your calendar and see how much of your time you're spending on that right side, the non money making. The idea is that we want to delegate all of that stuff away from you so that you can focus on the money making stuff. Now, is this going to cause chaos in your business and in your life? Maybe for a little bit if you don't get to all the non money making stuff, but that's why we're going to delegate. We're going to show you how to do that on this video so that you don't have to worry about that. But if you can just focus more of your time, and really, if you're looking for percentages, if you're a data person, 75% at least of your time should be spent on the money making stuff. And one of the things I recommend to my clients is, just go ahead and color code your calendar. So take a look at it. My executive assistant does this for me. Money making, you guessed it, is in green. Everything else is all kinds of different colors, right? And then just look at your calendar visually and see, hey, am I spending that 75% on money making? If I'm not, then rearrange some stuff, start delegating more, and so that you can get to all of the money making things that you need to do, which, of course, since we're talking about delegation, which leads me to lesson number 3, which is that if you don't have an assistant, you are an assistant. You may have heard this before, but really, I'm going to tell you an interesting story. Before I got into real estate, I was a real estate attorney. And when I first started at my law firm, one of the first things we did, I know it was old school, like 20 something years ago, is that they assign an assistant, which was called the secretary at that time, to each lawyer. Now, we shared assistants at that time, but, we each had a part of an assistant, and we would give our assistant everything. Now, writing letters and sending out emails and making phone calls, we would give it all to our assistant. Why? So we could focus on the stuff that we could bill our clients for, right? That was the money making stuff. And that's where I kind of learned this. And so then when I became a real estate agent, the first thing I did was hire an assistant. Now, at that time, it was really expensive to do that. I mean, it cost me, I believe, over $4,000 a month to hire a real live in-person executive assistant that would manage my calendar and my email and my appointments and make sure that I was going out and doing the things I needed to do to sell real estate and make money for the business. And so for you, what I want you to think about is that you can easily delegate all of that $8 or $10 an hour work because your time is worth so much more. If you want to see how much your time is worth, just take your goal annual revenue, divide it by the number of hours you can spend on money making activities, and you're going to have your money making time, right? And it's usually worth so much more, like into the thousands over what your time would be worth doing that non-money making activity stuff. And if you want me to help you out and do that for you, click the link down below. I actually have a guide for you, which is the ultimate productivity guide. And it has a calculator built in there so that you can go in there and you can see what your time is worth and how much you can delegate out and get rid of those $8, $10 an hour tasks. Once you start delegating all of that stuff to your assistant, you will see how amazing your life will be because you'll have time to earn more money, to work less, and have way more fun. And you might start thinking to yourself, man, I feel like I'm working less, but I'm making more money. And that's really the goal of this. So remember, if you don't have an assistant, then you are the assistant. And so the faster you can get an executive assistant, the better you're going to be in your business. And of course, we'd love to help you with that if you need that. We have a whole executive assistant standard operating procedure, which I'm happy to send you. We got the leverage playbook down below that you can download. And if you need our help, you can just go to allstarvas.com, book a call. We'll take a look at your business. We'll see where the gaps are, where the holes are, and how we can help you, whether that's an executive assistant, or maybe that's a social media or marketing manager, maybe an inside salesperson or a CRM manager, whatever that looks like for you. But we'll take a look and we'll give you all of that data, all of that information, and you can decide if that works for you to start delegating all that stuff so you could scale much faster and much better, and at the same time have more fun. All right, lesson number 4 is that not every move you make will work out, and that's okay. So as an entrepreneur for the last 20 plus years, I can't tell you how many times I have failed, how many times I have launched something new that didn't work out, How many times I have thought this is going to be the next big thing. This is going to make me a billionaire. And it didn't work out. And that's okay. As entrepreneurs, we got to not beat ourselves up over the fact that a lot, maybe most of our ideas won't work out. This always leads me back to that Michael Jordan commercial. And if you're not a sports fan, you won't know what I'm talking about. But Michael Jordan, considered by many to be the greatest basketball player of all time, had this famous commercial where he said, I've taken, thousands of shots and I've missed most of them. And that's why they asked me to take the last shot. I totally butchered that. But the idea is that, in entrepreneurship, as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we're going to fail and we're going to fail forward. And if you just keep on going and you keep on pushing and you keep on persisting and making it through those failures, that's what allows us to win. And trust me, I've had some huge failures, some small failures, but at the end of the day, if you keep going, if you keep being passionate about what you're passionate about and why you're in business, and you remember the reason that you got into the business that you're in the first place, and you focus on the stuff that you want to be doing, don't get bogged down by all of the minutia. Don't get bogged down by the non-money making activities like I talked about earlier in these lessons, and you will succeed. It is inevitable that you will succeed as long as you keep going. You cannot lose unless you quit. And lesson number 5, I might have saved one of the best ones for last, is to create systems. So everything in your business at the end of the day should be a system. If you think about Amazon, for example, and that's a good one for me because I feel like Amazon packages arrive at my house every single day, multiple times daily. That is a system. When I put an order in online, Jeff Bezos is not packaging up my order and putting it in the mail and delivering it to me. He's not driving the trucks. And maybe he did initially. But the idea is that everything in your business should become a system. The way you answer your phone, the way that you hire, the way that you fire, the way that you introduce new products, the way you run ads, the way you generate clients, everything should be a system. When things in your business become a system rather than just being in your head, what happens is that your business not only becomes saleable if you ever want to sell it, but it becomes a business that can run without you because you can then delegate parts of that business as you go. Now, here's the kicker. And that is that if you scale properly and you hire, as I mentioned earlier, an executive assistant, then maybe you hire a social media manager, and then you hire an inside salesperson, you can actually, as part of these people's jobs, ask them to create the system for you. In fact, I do that every single time. And so when we hire someone or we coach one of our clients to hire someone, one of the first things we tell them is you have 2 jobs. Your first job is to do the job you were hired for. So let's say you're a social media manager, it's to increase social media reach and do posts and create a content calendar and all this kind of stuff. But your second job is to create a system around what you do. So if something ever happens to you or we expand or whatever, you can always plug someone else into that system and they can actually do that just the same way. I have an interesting story for you. One of my friends is a pilot. And, I remember him telling us that, on every flight, they have a different first officer with them. And I said, well, how do you guys know what to do? You never worked together. You never worked together again. And he said, because everything's a system, everything's a checklist. And so we can plug any pilot, we can plug any first officer in there, and they will know exactly what to do at the same time because they've been trained on the same systems. And so think of your business the same way. Create systems, create checklists. Have your employees and your staff do that as well so that your business becomes a well-oiled machine. And there's something that one of my coaches once told me that I love, which is when something goes wrong, blame the system, not the person. So the first thing that we ask when there's an issue is, hey, what's our system for that? Let's review the system. Are we missing something? Is it wrong? Do we need to update the system? And by the way, your systems should all be things that are fluid, things that are constantly evolving and improving. This is not a static thing, right? So create your systems, have your staff create your systems, and then use those systems to continue to grow and build your business. At the end of the day, scaling your business can be hard if you try to do it all by yourself. But the minute you shift into thinking about your business as a collection of systems and AI and also virtual assistants and staff and really creating a business that works for you, a business where you can earn more money, you can work less, and you can have more fun, well, then this whole thing becomes awesome. And if you want to learn the reality of hiring virtual assistants to help you scale your business for you so that you can have way more fun, then check out this video right over here.